Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel. I've got a few interesting videos lined up today. Let's dive right in. First up, we've got a heated debate about DNA testing. Now listen, if this conversation comes up and someone immediately jumps to, "You don't trust me," that reaction alone raises eyebrows. Sometimes it's not just about trust, it's about transparency. Let's watch.
So you telling me it's more disrespectful for me asking you for a DNA test than to find out 18 years later that the child's not mine?
No,
Because why you asking me
hold
for a
up,
DNA
hold up.
test?
That's-
Because you did something
see
that you
that
know
right
you're
there?
not supposed to be doing. That's why you,
see
need a
right
DNA
there?
test.
A lot of men, what we do is we test. Me asking you for a DNA test.
That means you don't trust me.
Nope. No. Stop.
Absolutely.
Stop. It could be I don't trust you. One
Mm-hmm.
or two. I want to see your reaction.
I'm definitely gonna be like, why do you want a DNA test?
So now I
This is
really
your
want
child.
to
Now
That's
I
very
really want a
no.
DNA
Let me tell
test
you
if
why.
ask-
That's the most disrespectful thing
Oh,
you
hold
could
on.
say to a wife.
Do you think it's more disrespectful for me asking you that question than to find out 18 years later that the child's not mine?
Why did you marry her?
Next, a simple but controversial question. Who enforces gender roles more, men or women? Pay close attention to this response because there's a clear contradiction when the topic of patriarchy comes up. Let's break it down together.
So who do you think are the biggest enforcers of gender roles, men or women?
Men, because they're more dominant.
Yeah, but who typically pays on a first date?
Men.
Who's typically expected to approach?
Men.
Who typically buys the drinks at nightclubs?
Men.
Who typically gets down on one knee?
Men.
Isn't that all traditional male behavior?
I think a girl loves it, and a girl loves to be chased.
Once again, who are the biggest enforcers of gender roles, men or women?
It's a good question because women expect it when men don't want to do it all the time. But men get the benefit of going out of their way to do their gender roles.
So would you say that women are the biggest enforcers of gender roles? Would you agree with that?
No.
You said women expect it though, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, does a man necessarily have to expect a woman to do traditional things to be with him? Or?
Oh, nowadays, no. Women don't want to cook, clean, provide for the family. It's definitely different.
So
2026.
once again, how are women not the biggest enforcers of gender roles?
I don't think they're subtle enforcers. Like it's expected.
Well, right, but you're saying that women expect men to be in their roles, but women don't want to be in their roles. So to me, that
Which is
sounds
sad.
like it is sad, but my point is, it sounds like women are enforcing gender roles more than men are. Is that true?
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
So if women are the biggest enforcers of gender roles, how are women not the biggest enforcers of patriarchy? The very thing they demonize men for.
I don't know. I'm in a healthy relationship, so I can't really speak on that.
Moving on, this one is interesting. A woman shares that her husband is asking for alimony after she filed for divorce. Looks like the tables are turning, right? Times are definitely changing, and roles aren't as fixed as they used to be.
So me and my husband, we met when I was 25. I'm 37 now. We got married pretty quickly. We've been married for about 11 years. We have 2 sons, 6 and 8 years old. So my husband, he's always, since I met him, been, an entrepreneur. He's 15 years older than me. And when I met him, he really had his stuff together. He had a bunch of money. And, that really won me over. Like, I can't really tell you exactly what he did, but I just know that he was an entrepreneur and he had his hand in a lot of different businesses. We had a 5-bedroom house. We had staff. We had, a maid. We had au pairs for the kids. Just the works. I've never worked our entire marriage. My day would consist of, bringing the kids to school. Sometimes the nanny would bring them, but sometimes I would bring them. But most of my day would be having lunch with the girls, going to tennis class, going to Pilates, shopping at Saks, brunch. Well, 3 years ago, my husband had a stroke and things have just drastically changed. He never recovered from the stroke. Like the right side of his entire body is paralyzed. He has lapse in thought. His speech is severely slurred. And so he hasn't made any money since he had the stroke. He hasn't been able to work. And so now we have to get full-time care. And so the money that he did have dried up pretty quickly. And I ended up having to get a job. So I've been working for 2 years now, just trying to pull weight or whatever. And about 6 or 7 months ago. 7 months ago, I put my husband in a home because I just couldn't care for him anymore. And this just wasn't the marriage that I signed up for. Like, I'm still young, you know. I can find another guy I can find another husband, somebody with money who can actually take care of me and my kids. And so my husband's been in the home for 6-7 months, and I haven't had a chance to go see him or bring the kids over there to go visit him. And we talk on the phone, but when he was in there about 4 months ago, I filed for divorce because, like I said, this just wasn't the marriage that I signed up for, and I really just want to find another husband who can take care of me and I can go back to my old life. And I've actually been dating already, and, you know, trying to figure that out. But I filed for divorce, and so now we're in the divorce litigation, and my husband is asking for spousal support. He wants me to pay him $5,000 a month plus all of his care, like caregiving, for the next 5 years. And I told my lawyer, like, I'm not doing that. Like, what the hell? But my husband is saying, or my lawyer is saying that my husband is saying that he can't work, and so he can't provide for even just his basic needs. And so my lawyer thinks that he has a good chance of getting it. So I really am prepared to fight him tooth and nail on this because I'm not paying him anything, like nothing. I just wanted a clean break. I wanted to be divorced, and I want to just move on with my life. Me and my kids could just get out of this situation because it's been hell. But my lawyer is just kind of not understanding that I really do want to fight this tooth and nail. And I don't think that she's really, you know, considering me and my kids in our best interest. So I'm looking for another lawyer now that can be just a little bit more aggressive. And, you know, I know that it's the law, like if your spouse can't provide for their basic needs, that they, you know, are entitled to spousal support. But I just need a lawyer that can get on the same page with me. So, yeah. And that's how dumb you sound after you got with your husband because he was making money and that's the only reason why you married him. And now he's sick and you don't want to give him anything to help him with his caregiving or with his basic needs, and you want me to represent you. Absolutely not.
Up next, we have a 47-year-old single woman talking about her dating priorities. It's interesting how standards and expectations can shift over time. What people want in their 20s isn't always the same later in life. Let's hear her perspective.
How old are you?
I'm 47.
Let's say I wanted to take you out on a date. How much should I spend on that first date?
It doesn't matter. If there's a connection, it could be hot dogs in the park.
No, did you feel the same way when you were 22?
No.
What was the difference?
Educating myself, wisdom, being on the earth, understanding that someone can have means, but it doesn't mean they have to like show it right away. It's about connecting with someone.
What would the expectation have been back then as opposed to, you know, now?
I think more of looking for someone to take care of me as opposed to I'm looking for someone that is going to be a partner that's going to complement what I'm already doing and what I've already got going on. I'm not going to be triggered or attached to any old patterns or old ways of picking someone. And I'm fine if I don't wind up having someone. I'm a whole person and
that's all you need.
That's all I need.
And this ties into what we've been talking about: attitude, expectations, and reality. A young woman claims there's a sassy men apocalypse simply because a man didn't pay for her coffee but tried to start a conversation. From her own words, the guy was just being friendly, not trying to impress with money. But here's the bigger question: are expectations sometimes getting in the way of genuine connections? All right, that's it for today. What do you think about these takes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
Okay, not to be a dead horse, but we are in a sassy man apocalypse. I just came from getting a burrito, and me and this guy were at the register at the exact same time. And I go to pay, and the lady's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't take credit card." So I'm fumbling through my wallet to pay with cash. And so I have the money sprawled out on the counter, and the guy next to me, who is objectively handsome. He appears to be maybe in his mid-30s. And he goes, "Oh, so you're going to pay for my food with all that cash?" I look at him and I don't say anything. So then my food gets ready and I go to my car. And his food gets ready at the exact same time. So I'm walking to my car. This man has the audacity to follow me to my car and be like, "Oh, so can I get your number?" What impression did you think you made on me? Your first impression to me was you asking me for money. How, in what world is that flirtatious or attractive? And I don't think that's an in. Maybe for some women, like, that's attractive. He probably is relying on his looks to get away with that being flirtatious. But not only was it not flirtatious to me, it turned me off. Like, your first impression is asking a woman for money. In what world is that attractive? And then I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't give out my number to strangers. Can I get your Instagram?" I don't give out my Instagram to strangers. And then we're just having this back and forth and I leave. But I'm like, does that actually work?